Hello, and welcome to another episode of Matheson Talks, where we discuss tech and everything in between. My name is Mike Vega, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mariano Chiesa. Hello, Mariano.
Hi, Mike. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Quick note, we would love to hear your comments as we're always checking our Twitter and LinkedIn at Matheson Talks. This episode has been sponsored by Matheson Projects, Inc., a web development company. We're actually offering a custom coding trading bot. Our bots can connect to any major trading platforms such as eTrade, Robinhood, among others, and programmed to perform high-frequency algorithmic trading. Perfect for those that want to take emotions out of their trading. Check it out at fiverr.com/Matheson Studios. For those who are hearing us for the first time, we'd also like to invite you to check out our previous episodes. We have discussed cybersecurity, data protection, how to fight hunger with AI, and much more. You can find them on all major podcast platforms and YouTube by simply searching Matheson Talks. In the second part of this series, we'll delve deeper into the UN 20's agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals. These are the blueprints to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. These goals address the global challenge we face, including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. I'd like to begin with gender equality. Gender equality is not only a fundamental right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Progress has been made over the last decades. However, the world is not on track to achieve gender equality by 2030. Progress in many areas, including time spent on unpaid care and domestic work, decision-making regarding sexual and reproductive health, and gender-responsive budgeting, is falling behind. Women's health services, already poorly funded, have faced major disruptions. Violence against women remains endemic, and despite women's leadership in responding to COVID-19, they still trail men in securing the decision-making positions they deserve. Commitment and bold action are needed to accelerate progress, including through the promotion of laws, policies, budgets, and institutions that advance gender equality. Greater investment in gender statistics is vital, since less than half of the data required to monitor Goal 5 are currently available. The UN focused on ending gender violence, premature marriage, bringing equality to leadership positions or employment. To summarize, between 2018 and 2021, only 26% of countries have comprehensive systems in place to track public allocations for gender equality. 59% have some features of such a system, and 15% do not have the minimum requirements for such systems. Now, it's very easy to notice a big difference between, so-called first world countries and those that are still conservatively discussing the approach towards a more peaceful, healthy, and supportive integration of women into social spaces. Historically, work was relegated to serve a supporting role for men. Longstanding customs and traditions collide with the changes that have been taking place in the world for a long time. The UN hopes to address this double standard for a more sustainable future. At Matheson Projects, we consider it vital to avoid discrimination in any form, whether it be gender, race, religion, color, place of birth, or age. We welcome everyone to be on board with us. Our number one priority is to work as a team and help build a better future for all. The next point is clean water and sanitation. Access to safe water, sanitation, and hygiene is the most basic need for health and well-being. Billions of people will lack access to these services in 2030 unless progress quadruples. The demand for water is rising owing to rapid population growth, urbanization, and increasing water needs from the agricultural, industrial, and energy industries. Decades of misuse, poor management, over-extraction of groundwater, and contamination of freshwater supplies have exacerbated water stress. In addition, countries are facing growing challenges linked to degraded water-related ecosystems, water scarcity caused by climate change, underinvestment in water and sanitation, and insufficient cooperation regarding transboundary waters. It's worth repeating. In order to reach the goal of ensuring universal access to drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene by 2030, the current rates of progress would need to increase fourfold. Achieving these targets would save the 829,000 people annually who die from diseases directly attributable to unsafe water, inadequate sanitation, and poorly hygiene practices. Now, the global population with access to drinking water rose from 70% in 2015 to 74% in 2020. But there is room to improve. 2 billion people don't have access to drinking water. In fact, a number that includes the 1.2 billion without access to even basic services. In 2020, 74% of the global population had access to safely managed drinking water services, up from 70% in 2015. Still, 2 billion people live without safely managed drinking water services, including 1.2 billion people lacking even a basic level of service in 2020. From the 2 billion people, 80% are in the least developed countries, or LDCs. Water use efficiency has increased worldwide, and that's a good sign of improvement. But in a good time, because 60% of water bodies, whether it's lakes, rivers, and aquifers, from 97 countries measured, have good water quality. But at least 3 billion people rely on water that is not measured. Improving upon the conditions for water consumption for that significant part of the population is part of the end goal. Now, innovative products and projects have already developed through technology, such as aerators for kitchen taps or gray water recycling system, which is pretty much turning to reusing the water that's used in households, except for that in the human waste drainage circuit. Currently, there are applications that measure through IoT sensors the use of water in a home to give an estimate of where the average water usage is being allocated. This could have worldwide implications for a sustainable future.
Yes, and I would like to add here that maybe we see that the earth is full of water because most of the land is covered by water, but most of that water is not drinkable and it's impossible to use because it's salty. So we should be careful with the water because the global warming is it's melting the North Pole and the South Pole. So we should be careful on what we do with the water, with the drinkable water, and to find a way to reuse the water and recycle and improve our usage. So technology can help us with this.
Yeah, and I also want to a lot of people talk about, okay, if we're running out of water, what about desalination plants, which is pretty much the process of removing the salt water from, or rather removing the salt from the water to make it fresh water. However, this is incredibly expensive and incredibly energy, requires a large amount of energy to be able to do that. And it's hard to scale. Not only that is where are you going to put all the salt once you take it out of the water. It's not a very practical solution.
Yes.
So the best we can do is just taking note of how much water we're using and not use so much of it.
Yes, exactly. The only easy way to desalinate the water, or the only cheap way, is the rain. So,
right.
and then,
right. Well, actually, there's places that where they make it rain. There's something called cloud seeding, which is pretty much, yeah, they make clouds in the air. I think this is done like in Saudi Arabia or somewhere around there. And it's
Yes.
pretty much a weekly thing. It's like it's government mandated to create these. We've come to a place where we have to create clouds now, which is insane. But we've hit that point. And I just hope it's not a point in no return. The next point that I want to cover, which is number 7 on the UN's list, is affordable and clean energy. Goal 7 is about ensuring access to clean and affordable energy, which is key to the development of agriculture, business, communications, education, healthcare, and transportation. The lack of access to energy hinders economic and human development. The latest data suggests the world continues to move towards sustainable energy targets. Nevertheless, the current pace of progress is inefficient to achieve Goal 7 by 2030. Because remember, all of these goals need to be achieved by 2030. There are still huge disparities in the access of modern, sustainable energy. Rising commodity, energy, and shipping prices have increased the cost of producing and transporting solar photovoltaics, modules, wind turbines, and biofuels worldwide. This adds uncertainty to a development trajectory that is already far below Goal 7's ambitions. Achieving energy and climate-related goals will require continued support from public policies. It will also require massive mobilizations of public and private capital to prioritize getting clean, renewable energy, especially in developing countries. The global electricity access rate rose from 83 to 91% in 10 years. Adding to the number of people without electricity went down from 1.2 billion to 733 million, which accounts for 8% of the global population. At this pace, 92% of the global population will use these type of services by the year 2030. That's going to leave around 600 million citizens without it. Now, in the industry of cooking fuels, there's lots of room for improvement, even at an international level. Whatever progress has been made is currently inefficient, as only 69% of the global population has access to clean cooking fuels. That's a focus point the UN will require all participating countries to move forward. Now, this, in our view, is one of the most interconnected objectives of the UN. It'd be difficult to fight poverty or generate employment with access to no electricity whatsoever. But not all energy is created equal. It must be clean, preferably obtained from renewable sources, and more importantly, be easily accessible. This will help bridge the gap between developed and developing countries. The use of modern technological advances also is spearheading sustainable, affordable, and clean energy. If you think about it, electric cars have made it easier to spread awareness about the uses of alternative energy and the creation of electric autonomous vehicles. Through energy monitoring applications or sensors, the efficiency of the use of light and refrigeration systems has also improved. Now, this in turn is reducing the stress put on electrical grids. All in all, it makes for less stress on our environment.
And as you said, Mike, this is the more interconnected objective of the UN, I think, because you might have a notion like fight poverty or fight against hunger, but if you don't have the tools, or if you don't have an equal access to the tools, for example, electricity, you cannot have access to to connectivity and education. And this, it's really important for all the countries to develop together. We saw on the pandemic that we work as a unit because the whole world is one unit. It doesn't matter if we are more than 194 countries or 8 billion people, we work as a unit and we should develop as a unit as the UN is proposing. And if you don't take care of these kind of details or things, and you don't make this a really important objective of development, you will fall behind, or there will be people that will fall behind.
Yeah. You know what? And when you think about it, like if you really want to pinpoint what it is that has allowed for such interconnectivity around the world, it truly is electricity. There is no other form of energy that could allow us to communicate as we are communicating with each other. So shout out to electricity. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. The next point is decent work and economic growth. Sustained and inclusive economic growth can drive progress, create decent jobs for all, and improve living standards. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted billions of lives and endangered the global economy. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, expects a global recession as bad or as worse than in 2009. As job losses escalate, the International Labor Organization estimates that nearly half of the global workforce is at risk of losing their livelihoods. Even before the outbreak of COVID-19, 1 in 5 countries, home to billions of people living in poverty, were likely to see per capita income stagnate or decline in 2020. Now, the economic and financial shocks associated with COVID-19, such as disruptions to the industrial production, falling commodity prices, financial markets volatility, and rising insecurity, are derailing the rapidly tepid economic growth and compounding heightened risk from other factors. I'd like to list some points here given from the UN, and that's that the global unemployment rate in 2017 was 5.6%, which is down from 6.4% in 2000. Globally, 61% of all workers were engaged in informal employment in 2016. Excluding the agricultural sector, 51% of all workers fell into this employment category. Men earned 12.5% more than women in 40 out of 45 countries with the relevant data. The global gender pay gap stands at 23% globally, and without decisive action, it will take another 68 years to achieve equal pay. The women's labor force participation rate is 63%, while that of men is 64%. Despite their increasing presence in public life, women continue to do 2.6 times more unpaid care and domestic work than men do. In recent years, the world economy has suffered severe blows caused by the world crisis, by the crisis brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. There has been clear imbalance in supply chains worldwide, although applications such as Zoom allow for continuous connectivity to keep business afloat. That was not enough to make up the crisis in the job market. In fact, a new issue arose with the increase of inflation in almost every country. Technology has allowed us to keep going. In fact, our own company, Matheson Project Inc., was founded in the midst of the pandemic in 2020. And we have stayed in business thanks to the technology through which we build our projects. We care about the human element, which takes effort, talent, and more importantly, perseverance. That's why we at Matheson Projects have demonstrated one thing, that despite the major setbacks during the pandemic, we were able to thrive by providing high-quality services to all our clients. This concludes our second part of the series on UN's 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development Goals. If you have any feedback or suggestions or want to leave us a comment with your thoughts, be sure to check out our Twitter at Matheson Talks. And for traders out there, you know about our bot, so check out our bot, where we're offering a custom coding trading bot. Our bots can connect to any major trading platform and program to perform high frequency algorithm trading. You can check it out at fiverr.com/Matheson Studios.